Lama Dangompo Jetsun Jampe Yang La Chatsalo Gangi Lo Jimni Jinja Ni Dare Namda Rabza Jinye Dungu Yishin Sijir Niki Tukane Bamzin Kangda Zipe Tsunjar Mari Muntum Dunga Yisirwe Jozo Kula Puji Tarze Yela Duju Yandenzu Utare Cherjo Nyamo Nilong Leki Chado Jozeji Mari Munsen Dunga Nyuku Jinye Cheze Ranji Nam Dune Dagjin Saju Tarsun Yunten Luzo Yanse Tuweku Chudak Chudan Chuni Yenje Dalu Munzen Jambe Yala Du Arapazana 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 Umarapatsanati Tseden Jetki Chendrap Userki Danglu Timu Munbarap Salni Gadan Tenju Shulu Topai Lodru Pope Nangwa Tsantu Su Gangze Tawar Nupam Chunse Diwar Dunayam Gompo Jamyan Jenyi Ni Yengme Paryang Tongwar Shu. Everyone, welcome to our class. So last week we talked about verbs a little bit more in detail. I shared this chart with which classifies the two kinds of verbs. By the way, technically, Tibetan grammarians don't consider yin and yu, the linking and existential verbs, as verbs. Technically, they only consider the tade and tamide as verbs. But it's quite difficult, I guess, to wrap our heads around to be not being a verb. It's just so you guys know also. I find difficult to personally. I find it difficult to wrap my head around some of the grammatical concepts. Like, why do they classify some things as such as tade or tamide? I I've given up trying to figure it out. I just take what the Tibetan grammar is saying, and then from there I just learn the meaning and try to get the meaning. Before, I used to live in a house where my landlord, I had a really really cool landlord. He's Tibetan. He was trained with this. He's a Sakya Lama. The Sakyas have a really strong uh, like scholastic tradition. They were the first ones actually to develop a strong scholastic tradition in Tibet. He studied with this really big deal lamas, yeah, in Asakya College. I think even with Sotsar Khyentse Rinpoche and uh, Khenpo Jordan, who is now the head of IBA here in Boda, the main Sakya place in Boda. So once I was asking him, oh, is this verb tate or tamide? He told me, actually, I don't know. I don't know if it's tate or tamide. I just know the meaning. So, of course, for him, it doesn't matter because he doesn't have to worry about translating. The Tibetans get this intuitive understanding also, which we lack. But if we're going to translate, it makes a huge difference, as you guys can perhaps know by now, whether the verb is tade or tamide. So just so you guys know a little bit of the context. I thought he knew all this because he's so learned and he's always reading. He has a bookshop here in Boda, right on the Cora. He's always there reading. Or every time I go, he's reading or drinking tea. Those are his two activities. Um, so uh, yes, just so you guys get a little bit of context of how these verbs are understood. So that being said, that chart, I didn't get a chance. Hopefully I'm gonna get some time to make it into a nice chart on the computer. But the meaning is there in that handwritten uh picture of a handwritten page I took from my notes. Are there any questions about any of what we covered last class? In that case, today we will move on to we're gonna move on to the agentive particle. So, sorry, I cannot see, something is blocked in. Okay. Basically, agentive particle. So we finished this chapter now. We covered the terminating particle also. Basically, doesn't really do anything. It's just an ornament. So vocabulary. Good job on the homework. Some words. So we are at lesson 4, following the format of this book. The agentive particle or instrumental particle, which we already partly covered as the particle that is necessary in the formula, in the structure for tade verb. But that's only one of its functions. Actually, it has a few other functions. So my advice and what I usually do, if the meaning is not too clear when looking at a Tibetan sentence, a Tibetan structure, I usually just go through all the possibilities. I exhaust all the possibilities of the usage a particle may have. For example, in the connective particle, we have learned that it has 3 possibilities. So far, that's all there's more, there's a couple of more, but so far we've learned 3, right? The connective particle can be off, can connect an adjective to a noun, or it can be an apposition. So this order also is in how likely it is to be used in that context. So it is more likely that it is going to be translated as off than as a connective and adjective to a noun, and then an apposition. So if you run through it in that order, for now, that's the tools that we have. So just check in your mind. You can visualize all the possibilities and see which one makes more sense. Perhaps grammatically speaking, to make sense. And then we have to imply it from the context, or we have to just take our best shot and just choose one for the sake of translation if we are translating. And it's the same thing here with the agentive particle. Now we're going to learn other functions, so we go through the different uh, possibilities to figure out which function would make more sense. So the chedra is the Tibetan name for the agentive particle. Che means to do. Dra is sound, agent word they translate. So the spelling rules are the same as usual. It depends on the suffix of the previous syllable. So for these suffixes, is this, etc. The agent or subject of a I'm sorry, the agent of a tade verb. So that's the first function. This is the function we already learned. Or the subject of a tamide verb of perception, which is in our chart, is the middle in the three tamide verbs we mentioned. There's so-called uncontrolled perceptions and mental processes. So this also we need even though that's a tamide verb, a non-volitional tamide verb, we would still use the agentive particle for those verbs because they still have an object. Like there is something that is being seen, so it's unclear if we don't have that agentive particle. It's unclear what the subject is. So that's why basically it marks the agent or the subject of these two kinds of verbs.
So Daniel, just with respect to your chart, which is great. So you're in box number 5, the second row, middle column.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I should share it, I think. Just to be clear. 1 second. So here is our chart. Yeah, I'm here actually. In
Yeah.
number 5. So
Thank you.
basically, yeah, there is these are tade, and these 4 are tamide. But the reason these are volitional and these are non-volitional. So the only volitional tamide are going to be the verbs of motion and dwelling, to go and to stay, etc., to come back, to return, those ones. And then this is the basic structure, the really easy one, just 2 parts, subject and verb. This is the uncontrolled processes, uncontrolled perception and mental processes. And then this is a little bit of an unusual one, which we will cover later because it has some particles we haven't learned yet. So it's talking about this one. Yes. Okay, so let me go back to So yeah, it's talking about that one. Basically, it's just marking the agent or the subject. In a way, it's the same thing. It's just that these are 2 different kinds of verbs, but in a way, the structure of both is the same. It just helps to know that one is tade and one is tamide, sometimes for the sake of translation. So the agentive particle is not translated because I mean we don't have these particles in English, so we cannot translate them. So here's an example. I think this example is all over the place. Sanje ki, agente particle, chuten no. The Buddha taught then the Dharma. So agente marked by the agente particle, the object, and the verb. This is the structure we have here. Okay. This actually we already covered this. This is the same thing we covered in the previous chapter. Actually, there's nothing new so far. Kongi rila tao. Kongi, Kong, him or her, he or she, agente particle, ki. So now, as I know already that there's going to be a tade verb, which is ta in this case. Ri is mounted. La. This time it's an indirect object because it's marked by a ladun. To the mountain. Or here's at the mountain in English. Look at the mountain. He or she looks at the mountain. Uh, yeah, that's that. I think you guys got it. I think based on your homework, I feel like you guys get what's happening here. So nothing new so far. Now this is the new function that we're learning. It can be the instrument of an action. So the antiparticles are used to indicate the means or the manner by which an action is done. By means of, basically is an instrument. That's the key. That's the key word here. It is an instrument. So the way we distinguish whether it's an agent or an instrument is because the agent will be a sentient being and the instrument will be an inanimate object. That's how we will tell the difference. Because the inanimate object cannot be an agent, right? It has no volition. So this is our example. Nge kushu lakpe sa. So I, agentive particle. Kushu is apple. Lakpa is hand. And lakpa also has an agentive particle. Lakpe sa. So I eat an apple with my hands or by means of my hands or through my hands with my hands. You can, either one of these is correct as a correct translation. So the hands become the instrument by which I am eating the apple. Korlo lungi topki koro. So korlo is the wheel. Lung is the wind. Lungi top, the power or the strength of the air, the wind. Ki marked by the agentive particle. Koro turns. So the wheel turns by the power of the wind, through the power of the wind. I think they put here. So this agentive particle is marking the instrument. Even though notice that this is a tamide form. So the instrument doesn't matter if the verb is tade or tamide. The agentive particle can mark the instrument anyhow. In this case, the subject is not marked. The wheel just turns by itself, right? But in this case, by the power of the wind. Is that clear so far?
Yeah. Can you just repeat what you said about?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Please go ahead. No.
No, go.
Yeah.
We have time.
Okay.
We'll get both. We'll get both. It's okay.
Okay. To save time, Kip, I will go ahead. And it's a quick question. So after the wind, there's particle G, which is off, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. That's a connective particle. Correct. That was a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay.
Can you
Go
just
ahead.
repeat what you said about this sentence and that what is being explained here? It doesn't matter whether it's a tade or tamade verb. Can you just repeat that again?
Sure. Because we have learned that at tamide, generally, tamide verbs don't have an agent. That's why we say subject. So the agent of the tamide, like for example here, I'm sorry, this is a tade, to eat. The agent is marked by the agentive particle.
Right.
Right? So this is a tamide, and the subject is not marked by anything because it's a tamide, but there is an agentive particle which marks the instrument.
I see.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. So here you can tell, okay, there's an agentive particle, but there is also a tamide verb, but this agentive particle is marking an inanimate object, therefore is an instrument. That's how we would just think about the structure and how to translate it properly.
And in these usages, the these particles are always immediately following what is being marked.
Yeah, the particle will
Yeah.
always mark that which precedes it.
It is interesting that core is turning and core low is the wheel.
Yeah, it can be a little bit confusing sometimes to identify the nouns and the verbs. Actually, this is a really confusing thing in Tibetan. You have to figure out what if this is a noun or a verb, you know. Sometimes it's difficult to, or sometimes it's an it's both in a way. It's I forget the term. You can turn verbs into nouns, you know. I forget the grammatical term. That also happens. So yeah, you have to a little bit get just figure it out from the context. So next one, another example. Lambe agente particle. Choque ze ngakipel. So the verb is pel, to increase. Ze is substances. Choga is ritual. Ngakipel. So ngak is marked by the agentive particle. So this is the instrument here. And this first one is marking the agent. So the guru increases substances of the ritual through or by means of mantra. Ngak is mantra. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
So, there's many examples, etc., etc. I recommend going through them. If you have a question about any of them, you can send me a message as a message on the group. But I think it's pretty straightforward. Basically, it's just marking the marking the instrument. I need to blow my nose, guys. 1 second. Okay. So now we have a new function, adverbial function. It can turn it it can turn the verb into an adverb, basically. So it's telling you how the verb is being performed. Usually placed right before the verb they modify. So here's an example. Nenten is to be persistent. It's persistent. Nentengi is persistently. Nentengi. Rimpa is a sequence or stages, like Lam Rim, for example, stages of the path. Rimgi or Rimpe is gradually. The Kempos always say this. You have to train Rimgi, gradually, you know, step by step. Do your training Rimgi. This is a very common word. Kechik is an instance, so Kechikgi. This is also instantly. This is all usually in the sadhanas, like Kechigi, I arise as Vajrayogini, Kechigi, like immediately turn into a syllable hung. This is very common in the practice texts. Gupa is respect, like in Mugu. Mugu is a composite word, actually. The second part of Mugu, Mugu, which means devotion, we translate as devotion. The second part is Gupa, which means respect. Gupe, respectfully, Gupe. Also, if you think about the meaning, this could also be the second one that we learned as an instrument, by means of respect, respectfully. In a way, it's kind of like the same meaning. If you really think about it, it's not that different. It's not that far off.
Yep.
So actually, all these things, we have different ways to say them, but ultimately, if we really boil it down, the meaning is not that different. That's why the Tibetans also, they don't think in terms of the English subdivisions, you know.
I was going to say the same. So somehow intuitively, you do something by using the quality of respect, which is respectfully.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's the same. There's two ways to translate it, basically. It's not, there's no ambiguity here, I feel like. Naturally. Rangshin, naturally. So let's look at one or two examples. Changchup Senpei mark the digente particle. So usually notice that here, normally this will be an suffix. So the suffix gets dropped because the is doesn't. The is like a little bit of an unusual suffix. It will if these two are connected particle, they will put the giku right over the and if it takes a gente particle, they drop the altogether and replace it with a sa. Changchup Senpei, Dun, the benefit of beings. Dun, Nenten Gi, persistently or effortfully. Zedo, thus, or they translated it here as accomplish. But actually, Ze literally is the honorific of to do or to make something happen. Nenten Gi, adverb. Kongi metok dang marme gupe bul. Kongi, this is our agent. Metok, flowers. Dang marme, butter lamp. Mar is butter. Me is fire. Butter lamp. Gupe, by means of respect or respectfully, Bul offers. He offers flowers and butter lamps respectfully. Etc. I really like this kechigi word. Kechik. Kechik is an instant. Kampa tedak, those houses. May is fire, marked by the agentive particle, by fire. May kechigi, instantly, tick, was burned, or I guess consumed here. So here we have all, actually there is no, actually the fire is the, oh, this is interesting actually, because the fire is like the agent, I guess. I guess is the instrument actually, by means of the fire, yeah. Because it's an, like I said, the agent needs to be a sentient being.
I just want to make a comment, not a question. I've caught up myself being able to follow the text as you read. Before I was unable, it was too fast for me. The way you were reading, I was never able to catch up with your speed, but now I am due to the
Very nice.
homeworks.
Very nice. Yeah, actually, something clicks. If we do the homework and we study, unexpectedly something clicks. For me also, I remember all of a sudden one day I began to understand people speaking. It's not like I cannot say like I cannot say how it happened. All of a sudden one day I was like, oh, I know what this person is saying a little bit. Not everything, because I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
doing my
this is
homework.
exactly the qualitative feature of it. Oh, wow. After a few minutes, it was almost like given. And then I was like, oh, wow, but I'm following what he reads. It was not like this before.
Yeah, yeah, it's something that happens. Also, another thing I was reading recently, that we learn a lot in our rest time, and especially when we take naps and we sleep. Something happens in the brain. Uh, whatever we learn, it gets, I don't know, something is happening, some connections are being made in the brain. It's really useful to study and then just relax, take a little nap, close the eyes, and come back. That time to rest. I don't know. I don't know how the brain works, but something happens. Some magic is happening, you know. Yeah. Yeah, but thank you for sharing. That's nice. That's nice to hear. I resonate also. So now I have to read faster so Federico can't keep up. No, I'm just kidding. La me Chunjingje Chempe mark by the particle. Rimgi Tenno. Okay, so here we have all three. Agent marked by the agent particle. Lame Chunjingje Chempe, the instrument, again another agent particle. Rimgi, our third agent particle, which is an adverb. Tenno. So the guru teaches the dharma gradually with great compassion. So this is a cool example because it has all three in one. One agent particle, two instrumental, and three adverbial use. Okay, so that's the use. Actually, here I need to share something else because something very important is missing in this book. I don't know why they didn't put it here. Maybe because this next one is more connected to verbs, I guess. So I'm gonna go to Paul Hackett's book now. Just 1 second. Actually, Paul Hackett, these are the uses of the agentive particle, according to Paul Hackett, that big book I shared. This also has really cool examples. But this one is really used very much. And they didn't, I don't know why it's not included in that book, but it's a reason. Basically, the agentic particle also can give reason for something, like because, you know. Unfortunately, there is only one example here, but like I said, this is very prevalent in the texts. Mola, tundu yope, lamdup. Mola is she, her. Mola. Yeah. So we have a ye. So if we just cut the sentence here, if we just say Mola tundu ye, what would that mean? Keep just up until here. Forget about the rest. Tundu is diligence, by the way. One of the paramitas.
Diligence exists.
Yeah, but to her, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
so her diligence exists.
yeah, yeah. You can say that. I would say she has diligence, but yeah. You can also say diligence exists to her. So yeah, so that so far is good. Mola tundu yu pe this yopa plus this is the adjective particle which marks the reasoning. So by means, actually in a way, again, it's also the same meaning, you know. By means of her having tunju, diligence. They translated effort here, but I think diligence is better. By means of her having, but also you can say because, right? Because of her having diligence, Lam Drup, she achieved the path. Lam is path, Drup, accomplished or achieved. But in some cases, it makes more sense to think of it in terms of reason also. These are just different conceptual like tools we use in English for the agente particle. But yeah, sometimes I find it easier also to think of it in terms of reasoning, like because also by means of, through, yeah, in a way it's the same, I guess. But you guys, are there any questions? Here I'll go over a couple of examples just to go back. So he's also making examples of the instrument. For example, Mashepe Wangi. His examples are a little bit more complicated, I think. But Shepa is to know. So Mashepa is not knowing or ignorance. Mashepe Wangi, by the power, Wang is power, the power of Mashepa, of not knowing. Gi, by the power of not knowing. Korwa is samsara or cyclic existence. Ra is marking the location, ladun. Korwar, kor. Cycles is a tamide. So because of or through not knowing, through ignorance, he's translating as ignorance, through ignorance, or I'm sorry, through the power of ignorance, Wang is power, through the power of ignorance, someone cycles, kor, involuntarily cycles, tamide, in korwa, ladon in korwa, in samsara. This is an example of instrumental use of agentive particle. So this is clear, I hope, more or less. Yeah. Of course.
Yes, and it's interesting that again we have core, like in the wheel, but it's this time is for samsara because it's somehow cycling, right? So
yeah, exactly.
The verb core and then it's core bar.
Yeah, korwa.
Korwa.
Korwa. So korwa is
Korwa.
samsara. Korlo is wheel.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
change the ending just to make it different, but
Yeah.
it's the same core. Yeah, it's the same core. Core can also mean surroundings. For example, koryuk means environment. Core is actually, yeah, it can have many meanings in different contexts. But this basically we have 4 usages so far: agent, instrument, reason, and adverbial. Now this guy here, he goes into absence, but I actually don't. This is actually, I don't think this is super correct, so we're gonna go back. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, but I'm trying to give you just to give you the keys to memorize this stuff. Going back to this one. I'm sorry, this is the same. Oh, okay. He says marks the absence of something, but actually, according to our sheet, it's not that it's marking the absence of something. What it's doing is it is marking a class of verbs, which is the 6 out of the verbs that in our chart. We have these 6 verbs. The last one is let's open it. why not?
Yeah, so this is in the sixth box.
Yes, exactly. I'll show it for us. Oops, sorry, what did I do with Zoom? Sorry, guys.
It's very groovy looking. I mean, it's
The chart. Are you guys on the?
no, it's this smear kind of artistic
Yeah.
smear.
Oh, oh, I have to stop share. Okay. Sorry, guys. I struggling with Zoom today. Okay. Here's our chart. So this one actually, verbs of emotions, states. Yeah, emotions and states. In this case, it classifies as a state to be full or to be empty of. So for these kinds of verbs, can use ladon, jedra, which is the agent particle, or source particle, which is coming up soon. Jedra, usually we will see it in the context of being empty or being full of something. So here's the example with being full. Gang means to be full. And what in this case, what the jedra is doing, what the agentive particle is doing, is it is marking the object, which is a little bit counterintuitive, but it makes some sense if you think about it, because it is by means of that is empty. You can think of it that way. By means of that is full. But in
So
English doesn't make sense.
sorry. So you're saying what in the book was as a category absence is in fact a case from this six square, the last little box, in the case of a verb that is essentially saying absence.
Exactly, to be empty of, which is
Empty
all
of,
over.
yeah.
This is all over the text, because Tibetans are always debating, oh, that is empty of that. Like if they're, oh, this is empty of that. So it's empty of self. Boom. No, it's empty of the categories of that. Boom.
Oh
So
yeah,
that
those different schools, like yeah,
exactly. So
right.
they will be debating, and they will use this a lot. And also it's in the text, especially if one studies a little bit of philosophy.
Prasangika, Svatantrika, all
Yeah,
these
exactly.
guys are.
Yeah, the
This is what
Shentongs.
I said when my story was that I participated in a debate, between Prasangikas and
Yeah,
Svatantrikas.
yeah. Maybe you were confusing the use of the agentive particle. That's why
Right,
we need to ask.
right.
No, you can go back and use the agentive particle properly. So, but basically, yeah, what Federico said is 100% correct. Basically, this Paul Hackett's book, that thick book, big book, I mean, I just showed, is very good. It's a very good book, but there are some things that I feel like, I mean, he giving this thing its own category, but I feel like thinking of it in terms of the German-made chart is much better. So as a state, the agenda particle can mark the object. In English, it will be the object. So the example is here. Lumpa, it means country or land, place, Lumpa. Ja is a rainbow. We is light. Ki, the agente particle, Kang, is full of. So it's a state, like being full or being empty of is a state. Or being K also is a state of being learned. But going back to this one, Kang. So the country is full, basically, of rainbow light. But because it's a state of Gang or Tong, Tong is empty, Tongpani. Therefore, this is marked, is marking the object of what it is full. So there is yet another use of the agentive particle. Then Paul Hackett uses another example. Actually, now I'm going to share my own notes. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place today, but there's no. Sorry, my notes are not showing. Oh, here. Basically, I made this list. Functions of agentic particles of actually agentic particle is fine. I mean of agentic particle after nouns. Basically, I made this list, and then in my brain, in our brains, we can all go through this list and just be like, okay, which one is this?
And in fact, it is very helpful. I just realized it was helpful to look through the eyes of different schemes, different books, different schemes. So not to take them as carved in stone. Different people try to organize in different ways, you know.
Yeah,
some more
actually,
successful than others.
yeah, some things are better in one and in book, and some are better in the other. So basically, I went through these books, and just in essence, this is the only one that I'm a little bit. I've never seen this one. I added it because it's in Paul Hackett's book. Personally, I've never encountered it. I also asked Karma Lazum. She also told me she's never encountered it. So I don't know. It must exist somewhere, but just I mean, I added it because it's there. He gives an example, which is of inclusion. Yuki Duba. So U is the continuum. In this case, a mind continuum. Duba is contained, gathered. Duba is gathered. Gathered. I'm sorry, is that mind continuum? Let me check actually how he translated it. 1 second, guys. Yeah, it's the mind continuum. He's translated it as included within the psychophysical continuum. So, anyways, this one I haven't seen it. I cannot say much, but it exists. I just added it in the list. But basically, I would go through them in this order. I don't know if you guys can take a screenshot, or I'll take a screenshot of this later and send you guys. I would look first, I would think of it as an agent, and it can be an agent of a Tade verb, an agent of a Tamide verb of uncontrolled perception, or sometimes an agent of a verb of motion and dwelling. Basically an agent. I actually summarized these three into one because they're basically all the same thing. It's just an agent. Here I should have said subject, not agent, right? Because the Tamide doesn't have an agent. So basically the subject or the agent. An instrument, which we covered today. Reason, build an adverb, or marks the object of a Tamide verb of emotions, emotions or states, like empty or full. Oh, I didn't think I would manage to cover. Oh yes, and these are nominal uses. Just to even overwhelm you more. These are nominal uses, meaning what happens when they come after a noun. But if they come after a verb, they have a different function too, which is they translate it as conjunction, but it means and or but. If it's after a verb, just so you guys know, that also can happen. The particles will function differently whether they're following a noun or a verb. And that's all. That's it. This is the list I came up with. I try to synthesize everything into a small, easy format. You don't need to know all this to do the homework in this book. The book doesn't. I don't know why they didn't put it like this in the book that we're using mostly. This book from Raju Jeshe. but this this is the format. And then here I'm
And,
working on this
and
chart. Yep.
and so and I think it was on the bottom of the preceding page, but if you were to give this chart a name, that list, it would be called the functions of agentive particles after nouns.
Yeah, actually here is the name. I just in the I should bring it down actually because the title got stuck on the previous page. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The function of
Got
agentive
it.
particles. Particles, right? After nouns. Yeah. So you guys can take a screenshot, or later I will take a screenshot and send you also, just so you have this little useful list and also verbal use. So that's it. Unfortunately, the homework for the next chapter needs a little bit more. I need to cover more material before I can give you the homework because there's some things I haven't been able to cover. So I cannot give you that homework yet. So what I'm planning to do is actually, do you guys remember that those prayers that I sent, uh, the daily prayers, the refuge and the bodhicitta prayers?
Yeah, I think
Let
I've
me,
got those saved.
let me
Could you
Were those
please?
three those three files, or you sent them?
Yeah, actually, I'll share it. I'm gonna share it here. Um, is this one? If you guys don't have it, I'll send it again. It was just my suggested
Mhm.
prayers for the
Oh
meditation
yeah,
session. Just like a
yeah, we
couple
have those.
inspired by what Zan sent. I just added a couple more and shared it. So the homework will be to take this one, Revision Bodhicitta, and the 7-line prayer of Guru Rinpoche, which goes all the way down to here. The mantra doesn't matter because the mantra is in Sanskrit. Actually, this is also in Sanskrit, so this line also doesn't count. But basically, do a grammatical analysis
Mhm.
of the both of these, this one and the 7-line prayers. So based on what we have learned, you can write, oh, okay, this is the I don't want to tell you. But you know what I'm saying. This is the subject, this is the agent,
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
is the
Mhm.
object, this is the
Mhm.
verb, this is a tada verb, and this is the instrument of that. And yeah, just one thing we didn't cover. Shock means may it be. Okay. Like drupar shock. Drup is to accomplish, so drupar shock. May it be accomplished. Okay.
Oh.
This we didn't get to cover this. Actually, this is in the next in the chapter, and that's why I cannot give you the other homework. But shock means and also gyurichik. Actually, if I tell you that you can do this one too, because these three prayers are very important, and yeah, I'm gonna add this one also, I guess, now that I told you what was missing. Basically, shock and gyurchik, gyurchik at the end, it just means may it be. It means like may this happen like that.
Mhm.
Okay.
But interesting. Typically, I was under the impression that the verb is at the end. Now, it's a special case somehow, right?
It is at the end actually. The verb is right behind, so the verb is right at the end, but
Mhm.
so drupar shock. This is a special structure that you attach to the
Okay.
end of a verb when you want that verb may be accomplished.
Okay. So somehow it's thought of together with the verb.
Yes, yes, yes. You
Okay.
can still think of it as the verb being in the end. Here also,
Mhm.
then part yur is the verb yurchik, like may it become, may it
Oh.
happen, may it come to
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yurchik, dalwar, yurchik, dalwar. Actually, here the main verb would be dalwar.
Yeah.
Here also denpar, gyurichik. Denpar would be the main verb. Gyurichik would be the together, made it happen.
In Sanskrit, I start to understand. In Sanskrit, there's a separate conjugation, which is an optative conjugation, which conveys the same meaning. Now here, instead of a different conjugation of the verb, you just add, tack on this little piece, and it fulfills the same function. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's correct. So actually, here they're calling it imperative mood. So I guess for your analysis, you can use imperative, just mark it as an imperative mood. We will talk about this more next class. Here's also root verb plus war plus made happen, jurishik, shock. Okay. Here are a few examples. We'll cover it more, but yeah, you can do. Actually, they do it here. This is the for immeasurable prayer also. So there is some help in the book. Actually, I think that was the main thing that is missing. Vocative. Vocative, actually, this is so easy. Actually, this is so easy, guys, because now thinking back, we're not gonna have class for next class will be missing, you know, so you guys have too much free time. So you guys, I'm feeling a little bit uneasy knowing that. Vocative case, it just means you're calling someone out. In Sanskrit, this is also from Sanskrit.
Yep.
Kie. Anyways, actually, I think you guys can do it. Yeah, why not? Let's give you guys the homework. Okay, let's focus on this one because this is more targeted to our what we just covered. But if you have time and you finish this and you want to keep working, do the grammatical analysis of the other ones. But I think for now, translating is more helpful.
Yeah, so you're assigning us the lesson 4 exercises beginning on page 60 of TLAN.
Yes.
Okay. And then if we have extra time, we can go do what you were saying before about the grammatical analysis of your prayers.
Yes, because we won't have class, so I'm giving you a little bit extra homework. If possible, do it. The more homework you do, like your brain starts to process it better, you know.
So we're not meeting on our time. So we're not meeting Sunday evening or Monday morning, but we are meeting this time next week.
Yes, so we'll meet after 1 week. That's correct.
Okay.
We'll meet after 1 week. And if there's any questions about anything, of course, you can just send a message. You can, if there's a question, you can send it to the group chat so everybody can see it. Maybe it helps clarify everyone's doubts. But yeah, I think we can handle this. Is good. This one, and then yeah, if you guys have extra time. And also, I'm sorry to overwhelm you guys, but I'm concerned about the pronunciation, you know. You can do on the next page of Mahaguru also, recording. I know it's a lot, but do a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Just to keep up with our different aspects of Tibetan learning that we're trying to cover.
Mahaguru, I'm somehow like losing track of the different files. Mahaguru was the long one.
Mahaguru is the one that I think that the name of the file actually is aspiration prayer. You should tell you aspiration prayer, I believe.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. But it's usually known, they call it Mahaguru in the local Shapten lamas. So there is this class of lamas, they call them Shapten lamas. Shapten means is a kind of puja. Shap is means foot, ten is to stabilize, but it's like a life stabilizing pujas. So there is this kind of monks who basically, I mean, they're not really known for doing a lot of practice, but they go around from house to house and they do the Shapten, you know, boom, 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 and they do the pujas, and then they eat a lot of food, and they make money like that. It's a little bit like
Win-win.
it's a little bit like to be honest, it reminds me of like a band like that gets hired to perform, you know?
Yeah.
It's like if you have a wedding or a party, you can hire a band. It's a little bit like that. Like they go to every house and like they're a little bit like the rock stars. Like they come with their instruments, they have their yellings, their drums, and they do the puja, boom, 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 boom. And then everybody comes, they give them food. And then the next day they have like they're booked, you know, for
The
every day.
crops this okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's a little bit like that. Okay, guys. So that was our class for today. You guys have a lot of work to do. So enjoy your work. Do it slowly. Take a nap in between and let it all sink in.
Siesta.
So siesta, yeah, take a siesta. Yeah, in between the lines. Okay, guys. So our time is
Yeah.
up.
Thank you.
I'm going to end the video and then I'll say the dedication prayer. I'm sorry, stop the recording, I mean.